Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Memorial Healthcare System's Facebook Live event at Memorial Regional Hospital. My name is Bahati Banks, and today I'll be speaking with Candace Pineda, the hospital's trauma program manager, about the Stop the Bleed campaign. Later on, we'll also be demonstrating some basic techniques that will help you in the event that you have to stop someone from excessive bleeding. Candace, thank you so much for talking to us today about this very important topic.
Thank you very much for having us.
So could you give us a little history about the Stop the Bleeding campaign?
Absolutely. This is a national campaign that started in 2015 as a grassroots effort from the Department of Homeland Security through the president. It was a national initiative after some school shootings and different things that most people die from traumatic injury, and the most preventable cause of death is that bleeding. So it's a national campaign to really help family, friends, bystanders take action while they're waiting for EMS or police to arrive.
Why is it important specifically for bystanders to be trained?
So it takes, you always need to call 911 right away, but it takes several minutes for them to arrive, and it only takes 3 to 5 minutes for someone to possibly bleed out and die. So the bystander, the friend, the loved one helping to stop bleeding will make a difference and prevent possible death.
So you said 3 to 5 minutes. That's all it takes for someone to bleed to death?
With a serious injury where there's a lot of blood, absolutely. It only takes 5 minutes or less to possibly die.
One of the other aspects of this campaign are bleeding control kits. Could you tell us what they contain and where someone can purchase them?
So once you've identified that someone has life-threatening bleeding, there's a couple things that you can have available to you in your home kit, in your car, to help with that. So in that kit would be gloves, would be gauze, scissors to help cut away clothing to find life-threatening bleeding, a tourniquet. All of those items can really make a difference between someone living or someone dying.
And where can someone purchase a bleeding control kit?
So you can purchase it at bleedingcontrol.org. You can also search through Google or Amazon for Stop the Bleed kits. They're commercially available everywhere. I caution you that you can even make your own. Go to the dollar store and get a Ziploc bag and put in there gauze and gloves and things that you can get in any commercial store. I will caution you that if you're going to buy a tourniquet, a real tourniquet like a CAT, combat application tourniquet, that costs anywhere from $25 to $35. So just be cautious when you buy these kits, or that buy a tourniquet, that the one on sale for $2.99 may not be the best one.
Okay, so if someone wants to get trained or become a trainer, where should they go for more information?
Awesome question. So we, as a trauma center, our goal is to help keep people from getting injured in the first place. So certainly we are available. We are hosting Train the Trainer courses as well as bleeding control courses for our general public, because this is an epidemic that is not just mass shootings or bombings. This is truly practical application for something that you can use every day at home, whether someone was putting up Christmas lights and fell and they have a bone sticking out or a bad cut. In the kitchen you're working and you get a cut at home, or you're driving down the road and you see someone get in a car crash. There's so many daily opportunities, and that's really where the opportunity is, not just what you see in the news with the bombings and the shootings.
So if they want to find more information, they should go to Trauma Education?
Yes, so you can contact us directly at traumaeducation@mhs.net. No spaces, one word, traumaeducation@mhs.net. You can also check on the national websites, bleedingcontrol.org and DHS, Department of Homeland Security.gov/Stop the Bleed. There's some great resources out there, basic tips to make sure you understand how you can save a life.
Awesome. Now that we know a little bit more about the Stop the Bleed campaign, we're going to turn our attention to Candace and our other colleague, Vanessa Quiles, who is a trauma injury prevention and outreach nurse. Candace?
All right, so a couple quick steps before we get started with the hands-on is one, if you come across someone who is bleeding, before you rush out to help, make sure it's safe. Make sure it's safe for you. Make sure it's safe for that person. If they fall in the middle of the road, move them out of the road. Don't put yourself in harm's way to help. So after you're safe, we want to remember the ABCs of bleeding control. A is alert, call 911, get help on their way so that you know that there are people to help you get that patient to the hospital. Then once you've done that, B, assess for bleeding. So what is life-threatening bleeding? Those are the things that we really can make a difference. Life-threatening bleeding is where that there is blood squirting out of a wound, or their clothes is soaked, or if they've wrapped their arm in a towel or a shirt, if it's dripping and lots of blood around, that means it's a real life-threatening bleeding and we need to stop it immediately. So once you've found that life-threatening bleeding, then you need to compress, or stop that bleeding. You want to keep their blood in their body to help their heart and brain and lungs all pump so that they can stay alive and have the best chance of survival. So if you come across someone that has life-threatening bleeding, you want to protect yourself. If you have gloves, great. If not, use what's around you. Little plastic bags, Ziploc baggies from your lunch, put it on and get ready to help control bleeding. So if you have nothing around you, it's just you and that person, you just want to put both hands, apply direct pressure as hard as you can. Once you are able to find some supplies to help, whether it's gauze, or if you don't have gauze, you can use the towel in your car, a shirt, socks, anything available. You want to compress the wound. If it's a deep wound in the leg or the arm and muscle, the cut itself may not look deep, but if it's squirting a lot of blood, below that is a cavity where the muscle's fallen back, and there's a lot of blood that's happening below that. So you want to stuff in the wound, compress it with your full body, and you want to hold pressure until it hurts very bad. That hurt, that pain you're causing is really help keeping the blood, pushing it back into their body to help with survival and help their heart continue to pump. So direct pressure where it's really painful will really help save that life. For certain injuries, if you happen to have a bleeding control kit, the final thing that you can do for both arms and legs only is a tourniquet. So if you have an extremity injury to your arm or your leg and there's severe bleeding, these are the type of injuries that we should never die from. So if someone has a cut, an open fracture, or where their bone is sticking out, or something, you want to find a tourniquet, place it on yourself. You can even do this on yourself. Place it on yourself or someone else. It's a piece of Velcro. You open it up, you pull that Velcro as tight as you can. You want to squeeze it around the arm so that it's nice and tight. And then in this tourniquet is a little plastic clamp with a rod, and you're going to twist that rod so tight that the pulse stops. Their arm should start turning color, and you want to keep twisting it until the bleeding stops. So significant amount of pressure, stop the bleeding, apply that tourniquet, and make sure to write the time so the EMS providers and the hospital know the time this tourniquet was placed. And you want to continue to apply direct pressure. If one tourniquet's not enough, you can apply a second one. You want to put a lot of pressure, and this will be painful. That's how you know it's working, because you're holding the blood inside their body.
The tourniquet, when you apply a second tourniquet, just remember that it's going to go above the one that you already have in place.
Yes.
You just follow the same steps with the initial tourniquet.
Awesome job. So as Vanessa said, if you put on the first tourniquet and it's not working, if you have a second tourniquet available, it goes above the wound, closer to your heart, and you want to tie it just as tight or tighter until you see that bleeding stop. That's how you know you've got it effective. Any questions?
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Candace and Vanessa. So just as a takeaway, again, could you repeat the website and the email address that people can
Absolutely. So Stop the Bleed. Again, this is a campaign, just how we learned about CPR for your loved ones or an AED. This is the new CPR of trauma and bleeding. This is what you can do for yourself, your loved one at home. And remember the ABCs of bleeding control. A, call 911, alert someone. B, look for life-threatening bleeding. C, control that bleeding by direct pressure, by packing a wound, or tourniquet placement. And you can find out more. We have classes where you get to learn these principles again, as well as hands-on, applying the tourniquets, packing a wound, putting direct pressure yourself. So you can email us at traumaeducation@mhs.org, and you can check out our national websites at bleedingcontrol.org, dhs.gov/stopthebleed.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today for Memorial Healthcare Systems Facebook Live. If you do have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and we will definitely respond to them after today's event. Have a safe day.
Thank you so much.